Okay, so have you ever felt that like total frustration of dealing with tons of different IT providers,
Yeah.
each one with their own systems and rules and everything, and you're stuck in the middle trying to make sure it all works together?
Oh, yeah,
It's kind of like, conducting an orchestra, but each musician is playing a different piece of music, right?
for sure.
Well, today we are going to do a deep dive into a solution that could help to sort all that out. Service integration and management,
Right.
or SIAM for short.
It's, imagine having several teams working in different parts of your company
Uh-huh.
and each using their own tools and speaking their own, technical language.
Right.
SIAM is kind of like hiring this expert translator and coordinator so everyone can work together smoothly.
Yeah, yeah.
In essence, it's all about coordinating and integrating all those IT service providers and also business process service providers, both the ones inside your company and the external ones,
Right.
so that in the end, you have this seamless end-to-end service, as if everything was done by a single company
Yeah.
with a single point of accountability.
And why should anyone care about this? Like, what's the point of all this?
Well, just think about how complex managing technology has become these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a ton of specialized companies offering different services.
Uh-huh.
And SIAM gives you a way to simplify all that, to improve service delivery and governance, the experience your users have when they use technology, the speed at which problems are solved, and most importantly, making sure everything is aligned with what your business actually needs to grow.
So where does all this information come from? What are we basing this deep dive on today?
To get a better understanding of who's who in this world of SIAM, we're going to be drawing insights from a recent report, the Magic Quadrant for Service Integration and Management Services, from December 2024.
Okay.
This report evaluates the different companies that offer these integration and management services, and it shows us their strengths and weaknesses.
So if I'm getting this right, SIAM is basically about getting all these different IT service providers to play nicely together. Okay, but what exactly does a company that offers SIAM actually do? Like, what's their role in this whole ecosystem?
A SIAM company acts like this neutral third party that you hire to be like the conductor of your IT orchestra.
I like that.
It's important to understand that your main contract is with this SIAM company, not directly with each of your other providers.
Okay.
Their job is to make sure all the services fit together and work together as smoothly as possible.
And can you give me an example of what outcomes a company can expect if they decide to implement SIAM? Like, what benefits could they actually see in their day-to-day operations?
Sure, there are several and quite significant benefits that come with adopting SIAM.
Okay.
First, you're going to notice an improvement in efficiency and how services are delivered.
Okay, so more efficient.
Yes. Second, you'll have much greater control from start to finish over all the services you're using.
Okay, greater control.
Third, the experience of your users will improve significantly because the services will be more integrated and will work more smoothly.
Makes sense.
Fourth, the speed at which new services are delivered or problems are solved will be faster.
Got it.
And finally, everything will be much more aligned with the overall objectives of your business, ensuring that technology is truly driving the company's success.
So more efficient, better control, better user experience, faster service, and aligned with business objectives.
Exactly.
Got it. And so if we're thinking about hiring one of these SIAM companies, what are like the must-haves? What are the essential features they absolutely need to have?
There are some capabilities that are absolutely crucial when choosing a SIAM provider.
Okay.
First off, they need to have a well-developed framework and a lot of experience managing different vendors.
Makes sense.
It's also crucial that they offer SIAM-specific dashboards and reporting so you can see how everything's working and where there's room for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
They also need to have the tools and platforms that can connect all the systems your different service providers are using.
Right.
Plus, they need to be experts at coordinating and planning work across all those providers and their tools. Okay? And they should also be able to create a positive collaborative environment among them.
Yeah.
Effective management of major incidents, changes, and releases with clear accountability for who does what.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to track and report on whether service level agreements, SLAs, and overall outcomes are being met are also indispensable.
Okay, so they need to be good at dealing with problems when they arise and make sure everyone is accountable for their part.
Absolutely.
Okay, so aside from those kind of baseline things, what other features are common among companies offering SIAM?
In addition to those must-haves, it's common for SIAM providers to use processes based on ITIL, but adapted for environments where you have many different vendors.
Clientele, okay.
They also tend to have this thing called Federated Service Configuration Management, which basically means understanding how all your different IT services connect and depend on each other,
Yeah.
which is crucial for SIAM to work well.
Yeah, yeah.
And they also have tools to monitor and analyze how those services are performing in a unified way.
Okay, so it's not just about coordinating the people, but also understanding how all the different systems work together.
Right.
Got it.
Many also offer a help desk for your users and on-site technical support, plus specific certifications in SIAM.
And you mentioned the Magic Quadrant earlier. For anyone who's not familiar with it, could you briefly explain what it is and how it helps us understand this SIAM market?
Sure. The Magic Quadrant is a tool that the analyst firm Gartner uses to evaluate companies offering a certain type of service or technology product.
Okay.
They represent it graphically with 4 quadrants: leaders, challengers, visionaries, and niche players.
Got it.
They base it on 2 main criteria: the company's ability to execute its plans and its vision for the future of the market.
Okay.
This gives us a quick idea of who the main players are, who's innovating, and where they think the market is going, and who's focusing on more specific areas. In the December 2024 report, they analyzed 12 SIAM providers.
All right, so we know what the Magic Quadrant is, and we know the 4 quadrants: leaders, challengers, visionaries, and niche players. Could we talk a little bit about some of the key players in each of these quadrants so we can get a clearer picture of who they are and what they offer?
Of course. Let's start with the leaders. These are companies that combine strong execution capabilities with a solid market vision.
Okay, so the best of the best.
You could say that. Accenture, for example, has a wealth of consulting experience, and their clients tend to be very satisfied.
Okay.
But maybe their growth isn't as fast, and the changes you request might take a bit longer. They're great for large-scale transformations, but if your main goal is to save costs without big changes, they might not be the first choice.
Got it.
Capgemini stands out for its modern delivery models and heavy use of automation, especially in the public sector.
Okay.
However, they can be a bit less flexible and tend to focus on big projects, which may not be ideal for medium-sized companies or for more specific needs. HCL Tech has very solid tools and methodologies, and is a good choice for mid-sized businesses and manufacturing.
Okay.
They also place great importance on working with other companies as partners.
Right.
Some things to consider is that historically, they haven't had as many large clients, they don't always use automation in all their projects, and they rely heavily on their offshore team.
Okay.
TCS offers very specialized services and is investing heavily in innovation, including artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Their main focus is large companies, and they haven't had many standalone SIAM projects. They could also face some challenges with their staff due to higher attrition rates.
Got it.
Wipro has a very mature approach to SIAM and offers many services beyond just IT, with a modular approach.
Okay.
Their economic growth hasn't been the best lately, and they don't tend to accept many penalties if they fail to deliver. They focus mainly on large clients.
Okay, so those are the leaders. What about the challengers? Who do we find in this group and what makes them stand out?
In the challengers quadrant, we have Infosys. They have a lot of clients that stick with them and a good way of managing the service lifecycle, always looking to improve.
Right.
However, they haven't done many standalone SIAM projects. They focus more on large transformational projects, and they also rely heavily on their offshore team.
Okay, so they're good, but maybe not quite as established as the leaders.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Okay, so let's move on to the visionaries. These are companies that have a clear idea of where the SIAM market is going.
Here we find Cognizant and LTIMindtree.
Okay.
Cognizant has an established way of working called DIL and is quite well known in the market.
Okay.
They're a good option for medium to large companies seeking to change how their IT department operates.
Right.
They've had some financial and organizational challenges recently and have higher attrition rates. Their SIAM services are more IT focused.
Okay.
LTIMindtree stands out for its powerful tools and heavy use of automation, including software robots that perform repetitive tasks. They're also growing globally. However, their SIAM services are currently limited to IT, and they rely heavily on subcontractors. They don't focus much on legacy systems.
So they're innovative, but their focus is a bit narrower.
Yeah, for now at least.
And finally, we come to the niche players. What kind of companies are typically in this quadrant?
The niche players tend to be companies that specialize in a particular type of service, work in only a few countries, or both.
Okay.
In this quadrant, we have Kyndryl, who has very well-trained and certified staff, high customer satisfaction, and a wide geographic reach.
Okay.
However, they haven't done many standalone SIAM projects and lack a dedicated SIAM organizational structure. Their overall experience in SIAM is less than other companies.
Got it.
Stefani offers solutions that can be highly customized to your needs, are strong in South America, and help you create your own in-house SIAM team.
Interesting.
Their SIAM area is still growing, and they don't have as much experience or as well-defined pricing models. Their overall SIAM market share is low. Tech Mahindra tends to focus on large transformation projects and has specific expertise in the telecommunications and banking and insurance industries, with a focus on medium-sized companies.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work with many different vendor companies per client, don't have many innovative pricing options, and most of their SIAM services are delivered from offshore locations.
Okay.
And lastly, Unisys is flexible in offering more services, has a user experience-focused way of doing SIAM called SIAM X, and their clients are very satisfied.
Okay.
However, they have financial challenges, don't have many SIAM projects outside of key sectors, like the public sector, and their services tend to be more traditional.
Wow, it's amazing how many different options there are in this market.
Yeah.
And speaking of the market in general, what's the overall SIAM landscape like? What major trends should we be aware of?
The SIAM market is growing very rapidly.
Okay.
It is estimated that in 2024 it moved between $12 and $15 billion.
Wow.
And companies offering these services are expected to grow by an average of 30% in their revenue.
So it's a good time to be in the SIAM business.
You could say that. Most clients are large companies,
Okay.
and on average, they manage around 8 different providers under a SIAM model.
Okay.
Fixed price and time and materials models are the most common,
Uh-huh.
but there's increasing interest in outcome-based models.
Right, so paying for results rather than just time spent.
Exactly. The sectors where SIAM is being adopted the most are banking and insurance, manufacturing, healthcare, utilities, and telecommunications.
Okay, so a lot of industries where managing multiple providers is probably a huge headache.
Definitely. And interestingly, hybrid SIAM models, where management is shared between the company and the provider,
Okay.
and standalone SIAM projects aren't very popular for now.
Interesting.
It's also being observed that clients often choose as their SIAM provider companies they already have other IT service contracts with.
Yeah, that makes sense. They already have a relationship with the company.
Right. And more consulting-led SIAM projects are appearing.
Okay, so companies are bringing in consultants to help them figure out this whole SIAM thing.
Yeah, it can be complex.
And what are these SIAM providers doing to adapt to this growing market? What's changing in the industry?
In 2024, many companies have made significant changes in their strategies.
Okay.
They are focusing heavily on helping their clients achieve concrete business results.
Okay, so less about just managing the IT and more about how it impacts the business.
Exactly. They are tailoring SIAM solutions to each client.
Okay, so one size doesn't fit all.
Right. They are investing heavily in automation, including artificial intelligence.
AI, of course.
They're emphasizing user experience and operating model transformation.
Okay, so it's about making things work better for the end users and changing how companies operate overall.
Yes. And they're also offering product-centric approaches, using maturity models and providing ready-to-use dashboards and toolkits.
So trying to standardize and streamline things as much as possible. Makes sense. But is there anything holding companies back from adopting SIAM? Like, what are the challenges?
Yes, there are some obstacles. For example, sometimes contracts aren't well drafted,
Okay.
or the different providers compete with each other instead of collaborating.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem.
There are also companies that don't fully understand what SIAM is and what benefits it can bring. And sometimes the SIAM provider may have interests that don't completely align with those of their client.
Right. Potential conflicts of interest. Okay, and just to wrap things up, what criteria are used to decide which companies make it into the Magic Quadrant and which ones don't?
To be included, companies had to meet several requirements, like having been offering SIAM services for at least 5 years, offering both management and consulting services, having a presence in at least 2 geographic regions, having total revenues exceeding $1 billion, having more than 10 SIAM service clients globally, having increased their number of SIAM clients by at least 10% in the past year, and having less than 20% of the SIAM work for each client subcontracted to other companies.
So a pretty rigorous set of criteria.
Yeah, they want to make sure they're only including the most serious players in the market.
Makes sense. And they also mentioned a few companies as honorable mentions, CGI, Fujitsu, Microland, and SAA, that have experience in this market but did not meet all the criteria to be in one of the main quadrants.
Right. They might be worth considering as well, depending on your specific needs.
All right, we've covered a lot of information. For anyone listening who's thinking about whether SIAM is right for their company, what would be the key takeaways?
The key takeaways are several. SIAM can bring many benefits, like improved service delivery, management, and user experience when you have many different providers.
Right.
When evaluating companies offering SIAM, it's crucial to understand their strengths and weaknesses, how they work, and what they specialize in.
Yeah.
Not all companies are the same,
Uh-huh.
and what works well for one organization might not be the best for another.
And to keep us thinking about all this, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Think about your own situation.
Okay.
How do you think SIAM could change the way you manage your different service providers?
Uh-huh.
What impact could it have on the efficiency and results of your company?
Okay.
You might want to do a little more research on which quadrant of the report or which specific vendor characteristics best align with your needs and the challenges you're currently facing.
So basically, if you're struggling to manage a bunch of different IT vendors, SIAM might be worth a look.
That's a good way to put it.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of SIAM.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening, thanks for tuning in.